Today we are going to learn how to identify transformations. You should be on page 23 in your notes packet. A transformation is a movement of a figure. There are four main types of transformations. Translations, which cause a figure to slide on a straight line. So in this example, you can see that this trapezoid slid to the right. A reflection is a flip, kind of like a mirror image of a figure. So you can see in this picture on the bottom that your trapezoid was flipped across what we call a line of reflection. A rotation is a turn, so it will rotate around a point of rotation. For us, we are going to use the point of rotation of the origin, or 0, 0, on a coordinate plane. And the last transformation that we are going to focus on is a dilation. A dilation is when you reduce or enlarge a figure based on a scale factor. The input of a transformation, which is the original figure, is called the pre-image. The output of a transformation, which would be the transformed figure, is called the image. If you have a point, such as point A, and it is transformed, this would be your pre-image. But if maybe you translated it and it ended up down here, this would be your image. This would be called A prime. And to show prime, we put a little apostrophe here. If we then translated this again, and maybe it ended up right here, this would be another image, and this would be called a double prime. So you can continue going with your images and just continue adding to your primes. Let's look at translations. A translation is the movement of a figure along a straight line. Translations are always the same shape and size, which means that they are congruent. You can see in this picture that we have rectangle ABCD, and it is translated over here to rectangle A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. Now, you can see the rule for this translation because if I look at A right here, I can see that I moved up 1, 2, 3, 4 units, and then I moved right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 units. So this figure was translated 4 units up and 9 units right. When I do this, you see that my rectangle is still the exact same shape. Each side length for these, so from A to D and from A prime to D prime, it's still 3 units. From A to B is 4 units, and then from A prime to B prime, it's also 4 units. So these are congruent or equal figures. They have just been moved by sliding them. A reflection is a transformation that flips a figure across a straight line, and that line is called the line of reflection. Reflections are the same shape and size, which means that they are congruent. So just like translations, reflections provide congruent figures. However, their orientation will be changed. And when we say their orientation, that means that their position, the way that they are facing. So in this figure, you see that you have triangle ABC, and it has been reflected or flipped across the x-axis to create triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So we would say triangle ABC was reflected across the x-axis to create triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. A rotation is a transformation in which a figure is turned around a point. Rotations are the same shape and size, so they, like translations and reflections, are congruent. Just like reflections, their orientation will change because when you rotate it, it's going to be facing a different direction, with the exception being if you rotate it 360 degrees, because that would mean that you rotated it all the way back to its original placement. Now in this figure, you can see that our shape has rotated or turned, and it looks like it's rotated exactly 90 degrees to end up right here. So we would say that hexagon, we know it's a hexagon because there are 6 sides. Hexagon RSTUVW was rotated 90 degrees clockwise to create hexagon R prime, S prime, T prime, U prime, V prime, W prime. This is the same as rotating 270 degrees counterclockwise. So when you think of this, if I rotated it clockwise, that's going in the direction of a clock. So to rotate it 90 degrees, that's moving it 1 quadrant. Well, if I had rotated it counterclockwise, then that would be going this way, the opposite. Well, 270 degrees, remember each quadrant is 90 degrees, so this would be 90 degrees, then 180, then 270. So 90 degrees clockwise is the same as 270 degrees counterclockwise. A dilation is a transformation that reduces or enlarges a figure. Dilations are the same shape, but not the same size. So this is wrong. They are the same shape, but not the same size. This means that they are not going to be congruent, but they are going to be what we call similar. And that's because each side length of a dilated figure is going to have been enlarged or reduced at the same rate. In this figure, you can see that triangle ABC was dilated by a scale factor of 2, which means it doubled its size, to create triangle A prime, B prime, C prime.